and we are going to have on our guest for the day. After much delay, I present to you Taylor Lorenz.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Good. Oh my God, I never do the voice call on Discord. Sorry, I'm late.
No, it's all good. Don't worry about that. We usually do Discord. We can also, in the future, if there's any issues with Discord, there's a guest star feature. I don't do Zoom often unless someone prefers that, because it requires like a membership, and I don't want to pay $15 a month for Zoom,
Totally.
So I wanted to bring you on today to talk about something that you've been covering in your articles and in your YouTube channel about censorship in the UK, as well as tech censorship in the US regarding Spotify and YouTube. For anyone who may not be familiar with your work, before we dive into it, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself to the chat?
Yeah, I am Taylor Lorenz, and I'm a technology and online culture reporter.
And where do you currently do most of your work? You have your YouTube channel, which we watched a video for earlier. Where are you currently posting most of your coverage?
Yeah, I mostly do my YouTube and then my newsletter, which is usermag.co, and I write about this stuff and more.
Perfect. Well, considering that you and I are both content creators, we both post on YouTube a lot of our either content from interviews that we do, or independently of any kind of interview, coverage of topics that are important to us. I'd like to dive into the YouTube aspect of this first. You posted something recently about age verification on YouTube. Could you explain a little bit to us what exactly that entails?
So we're not talking about age verification on YouTube. It's age verification across the internet.
Right.
So if you saw the Online Safety Act went into effect, and sort of to pre-comply with a lot of rules that basically they want to pass similar legislation here in the US. And so some tech companies are already starting to age gate content, aka censor it, on different platforms, including YouTube.
And this is independent of any legislation that has happened yet.
They are, because there is no mass backlash to the legislation that is likely coming in America. They're starting to do it sort of proactively, which is really bad. We have 11 states right now that have state laws, and then the Kids Online Safety Act is in Congress right now, but it hasn't been voted on.
I'm in Louisiana, and our state does have, for kind of arbitrarily, what they designate based on, our neo-Confederate government here, what is and isn't age appropriate. So there are some websites that are either adult content or what they consider non-family content that you do have to verify your age. Obviously, VPNs are a workaround for that, but
they're not. Yeah, we can get into why they're not long-term.
Sure.
If you want to talk about that too. So they're also criminalizing VPNs. So and also they're building in systems in place where VPNs won't work. So this idea that we'll just let VPNs work, and that's what people do in China. Actually, the way that these laws are structured and the way that they're ultimately rolled out, there's already wanting to criminalize VPNs in various ways in the UK. You're already seeing politicians start to talk about this, but also that they're the way that tech companies, because the fees are so high for non-compliance, they're building in all of these protections. So basically, if you try to access it through a VPN, you're just not going to get access to it.
So
platform. What
was the genesis of the UK Online Safety Act? Where did that kind of start from? What were the groups behind it? Because for people in America, that one kind of came out of nowhere, but for the UK and European politics enjoyers in the chat, they were, raising up red flags about this for weeks ahead of time.
Well, it passed in 2023. So it passed in 2023. This was not out of nowhere. I think that people are not paying attention to the issue, which is scary until it goes into effect. But activists were protesting it very aggressively. It's coming from the same place on both sides of the pond, as they say. So we have the backlash to porn. which is being leveraged to pass these laws. And then this broader moral panic about social media, claiming that social media is bad, social media destroys kids' mental health, all of this garbage, pseudoscience bullshit that is completely untrue. And all of that is being, oh, my camera got really weird. Wait, hold on, let me see if I can fix it. I have like such a piece of shit camera. Okay.
There we go.
Anyway, so basically it's different. And you're seeing this also happen in like Australia as well, but it's the moral panic about technology. It's people like Jonathan Haidt, The Anxious Generation, which was a huge hit in the UK too. These series like Adolescence, which people in the UK, like these lawmakers literally took as a documentary. It's a fictional Netflix series. But the idea is that the internet is bad. It's poisoning the minds of the youth. It's causing them to be suicidal and miserable and kill themselves and maybe go into porn and watch porn. And that's why we need to ban everything, including news.
It's a bit, I guess, confusing for, the layman, because we can recognize that there are like moral panic and conservative groups that do buy into that, I guess, satanic panic, reefer madness style, anti-video game panic that a lot of our generations have like lived through and witnessed, Harry Potter, Twilight, whatever it is. But I guess what's the question I have is, since the right is so reliant on propaganda, is this more of a tool of controlling what you can see, or is it a mixture of that and being able to monitor any kind of dissident content, or I guess content that is outside of the moral framework? Is it a mixture of these things? Is this more of the concern?
No, it's both. It's everything, right? It's total top-down authoritarian control of the internet.
Right.
And the right is the people that are in power, right? And they're going to have total top-down authoritarian control. The one thing that the Democrat, and this is not led by the right, let's be clear, Democrats have pushed this harder than a lot of people on the right. Okay, the right has pushed it, but the Democrats have like poured the gasoline on the fire, and it is being enabled by Democrats. So Richard Blumenthal, Mark Warner, Nancy Pelosi, all these Democrats, Kathy Hochul in New York, these Gavin Newsom. These are the Democrats that are championing all of this stuff. So we need to hold them accountable, because this is very far right. This is all stuff from Project 2025 that the Democrats are enacting here in the US. So yeah, I mean, it's about top-down authoritarian. It's about complete and total control over our information ecosystem. So what you say is censored and what you can consume is censored. And yeah, of course, they're going to let like right-wing propaganda flow, whatever, because that's, Trump's in power, and also just that is what they want. But let's be clear, even if Democrats are in power, they are also censoring it. Look at what Biden did. Biden attempted a lot of this censorship stuff when he was in office. They censored all this stuff about COVID, and I like not COVID denial. Okay. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, they censored vaccine, the vaccines. No, vaccines work. What they were censoring is any information about long COVID. I wrote about this for the Washington Post. They censored any information from disability groups trying to raise attention about long COVID, trying to sound the alarm and say, hey, you're forcing all of these people back to work with no safety measures and mass disabling them. That's bad. The Biden administration, top down, was attempting to censor all that and pressuring these platforms, spreading misinformation, all this stuff. Look at Gaza, right? Another thing that the administration sought to control the narrative on, both administrations, right? Biden and now Trump. So the US government lies, as any journalist knows. Like, people in the government, they're political actors that will lie. And we should be very concerned. No matter what party is in charge, we should be concerned that there's top-down authoritarian control over our information ecosystem.
And funny that you mentioned CDC. I actually, I used to have a show that I would do on Tuesdays about science communication and the intersection of politics. And we had on our show frequently someone who was at a leadership position in the CDC in the early days of 2021, when the Biden administration was starting to tell people, okay, be hush-hush about it, COVID's over, party. There was a directive from the CDC director to not post pictures with N95 masks on. Like, if you're taking a picture at the office, don't wear it. So there is a lot of already existing, narrative control coming from both parties. You are 100% on that. What is the current, I suppose, as people are beginning to work through exactly what this is, what is the current things that people can do? Obviously, writing to their Congress people, organizing, making this known that this can happen. what is the current protections, I suppose, that people have as this is passing in more and more states, as private companies and more right-wing governments are getting ahead of it?
You have to do everything you can to fight back against it. So that is calling your state Congress people, like the state, because a lot of these laws are happening in the state. So find your state representatives, call your state representatives, email them relentlessly, show up at their office, do everything you can to protest this. Call your congressperson as well, like your actual federal congressperson, and use your own platform and your own voice online and educate people about this and talk about it. Like, I think what you said earlier was so true of like, I think a lot of people like saw what happened in the UK and they're like, whoa, that came out of nowhere. It hasn't. It's just that like there hasn't been any sort of movement politically against this stuff. Like, I think it's kind of crazy that the only places that have allowed me, and I'm the main tech reporter covering this for mainstream institutions, I've been invited on InfoWars and your podcast or whatever stream and one other podcast. But CNN is not covering this. The New York Times is feeding. They are some of the worst offenders of like manufacturing consent for this stuff. It's really awful. Like, there is no like mainstream. They are just going to try to quietly pass it. And so I really hope that like, and I don't know, maybe this is futile, but it's like anybody that has any platform, even if you have 50 followers, like just talk about it and tell people like, here's what's coming down the line and we have to fight against it. And I wish people on the left would take this up as a cause, because it's horrible. And instead you see these dumbasses with like the rose emoji in the bio. I keep fighting with these people that are like, actually, censorship is good because it cracks down on big tech.
Big tech is doing the censorship though.
Yes. Peter Thiel owns, and he's the primary funder of Persona, the primary third-party age verification tech. These laws mandate that big tech companies like Meta and Google, et cetera, Apple, collect more data on children, something they've always wanted to do and never been able to. And they don't want to have to deal with, doing content moderation either. So it's great. Yeah, censor everything. That saves you millions of dollars. So this is a massive gift to big tech. That is why all of these platforms are on board with it. So I don't understand how there is just so little understanding. And you see a lot of these leftists online parroting this moral panic bullshit about social media. I have a screenshot, I always keep like a folder of screenshots, but of all these big leftists being like, the most important thing is like, get off your phone and like, oh my God, it did it again. Like, the phones are destroying our mental health or whatever. And it's like, what are you even talking about? Like, yeah, sure, get off your phone if it's causing you a problem. But like a lot of this stuff that you're saying is pseudoscience bullshit, right-wing Heritage Foundation talking points.
There certainly is an argument to be made about, being present in your community, but oftentimes it's the spaces online where you are able to make people aware that that kind of organization is even happening, to spread the message. And I deleted the Twitter off my phone because it was, obviously rotting my brain, but I'm also on Twitter for 7 hours a day while I'm doing this job, right? So it's not like I could completely unplug from it. I don't know. It's funny that you mentioned the emojis. I judge a profile on Twitter if I've never seen them before by how many emojis are in the bio. If I see like more than one, I can pretty much assess like how insane they're going to be. But yeah, I don't know why this is. I think it's also kind of a reactionary element of some leftist spaces that does want to engage in censorship. And while I can hear the frustration, it's always going to be against the left first and foremost. It's going to be against any kind of like emancipatory organization. I'm glad that you brought up Peter Thiel though, because I did want to touch on that. Peter Thiel, Palantir, I forget the other guy, not Ackman. He's a really weird guy that likes talking about killing people a lot. He's one of the other tech guys.
Palmer Luckey?
Not Palmer Luckey. The chat might remember. Alex Karp. Thank you, chatter. Yes, Alex Karp.
I know there's so many. That doesn't narrow it down very much, unfortunately.
They're all so weird, and they all look like they're about to climb out of their own skin. I don't know what's going on. But I was wondering if you could kind of illuminate how those are connected. You kind of touched on a little bit how it is the main organization, the main firm that is doing this age verification, this identity verification. Could you kind of connect Palantir and Thiel and all of these kind of like tech bro neo-feudalists to this, data collection and censorship campaign?
Yeah. So this data, this move to, and by the way, if you want a safer tech ecosystem, which I think a lot of people on the left do, like I'm not arguing that like that Google and Meta and stuff aren't evil companies, but the way to actually target their business model and make those platforms safer is actually passing comprehensive data privacy reform, which is the complete opposite of what these laws are, which are like mandating more data collection. So Peter Thiel invests in a ton of surveillance tech. There's Persona, there's Palantir, there's a bunch of them. What they do is build it. I mean, it is basically infrastructure for the surveillance state. And so the goal is to, biometrically capture every single person's information, use that information to target them, to track them, we know that, already that this commercially available data is being used by ICE already to target people. Also for protests, the pro-Palestine protests, there was a commercial facial recognition tool was recently used to identify an activist. I can't remember where he was, a student activist who had a full gas mask. Like you could not have identified this person at all, but they were able to get like just a tiny bit of his face and basically identify it. Like it's very scary. It is about removing anonymity. But yeah, these companies like Palantir, et cetera, like they are just massive data harvesters, and they work in conjunction with our authoritarian government here and abroad. And that all the stuff that they're trialing right now in Gaza, like all of the horrible, what is it?
Where's Daddy?
Like the Lavender Project Lavender stuff, like basically all this like facial recognition, also being able to monitor, like it's not just your face that they want to monitor. They're now they've been rolling out in these stores, like, which again they frame as commercial, like, oh, this is great. You can monitor the body language of how people shop, and you can monitor kind of like you put these cameras in your store, and it's going to help you sell stuff. Basically, that data is being used to train these models. That it's like it can identify you by your gait, it can identify how you walk, it can identify all these things. A lot of it is also really sloppy and error prone, and we want data privacy. We don't want a surveillance state. And that is what Silicon Valley is currently engaged in building.
Is there anyone that you've talked to who is at the forefront of this that has personal recommendations for things like not using biometrics on your phone, things that they can turn off on their devices that don't feed into the training of these algorithms? Because sometimes they'll integrate with updates like things you have to go way deep into the settings of your phone. Is there anything that you've heard?
Yeah. I mean, I tell everybody, if you're going to a protest, obviously turn off don't turn off Face ID, turn off all that stuff. Of course. I also tell people to opt out at the airport. Like they're trying to do this stuff now where like they have facial recognition. 93% of people don't even know that they can opt out.
Yep.
So opt out every time, give your driver's license, and just fight for things. Honestly, like we're seeing Democrats, Kathy Hochul, and all these other people trying to pass mask bans. Fight against mask bans, not just for protests, but for privacy reasons too, and for COVID, and to have solidarity with disabled people. Also, if you mask in your everyday life, if you mask every day, which you should be doing anyway, because we're about to be in another COVID surge, and also just airborne disease is real, it helps normalize masking so they can't associate masking with criminal behavior at protests.
Right.
And they can't criminalize basically like face obscuring stuff, because what they're using now is like there's all these other things that people are building to go on your face to try to obscure you from facial recognition. They're going to use mask bans to ban that stuff. They're going to try to pass these mask bans and then ban basically anything on your face under the guise of that. So please mask up every day around. You're going to stay safe from airborne disease, and also you're destigmatizing masking so that they can no longer associate it with protests, because you can acknowledge the ongoing airborne pandemic that necessitates masking. I'm trying to think of other like tech stuff. I mean, just like be careful about who you give your privacy to. Like they have all these, who you give your information to. They have all these like things where like you can like, mask your credit card info or mask your like your email address. Like, Apple has that privacy thing where it's like you can use a fake email address to sign up for stuff. I think that stuff's always good. But a lot of this stuff is so like, you know, it's on such a big scale that individuals can't really opt out of it in any sort of capacity because you walk out of your door and you're being surveilled now, whether it's by a Waymo, whether it's by a CCTV camera, whether it's by those little delivery robots that also capture everything. Like we just have so much more
I'm
surveillance.
constantly telling my community to get rid of their Ring cameras.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Also, those things do not like I get it. I have a stalker, so like I'm very like privacy focused and I've almost gotten one of them so much. But the problem is like that data is now being used for the police. We don't want to contribute to building a surveillance state. I promise you, you're not. The convenience is not worth it.
Yeah,
But,
I always just tell them like I have a close network surveillance system in my home so that like no one can like log into it. It's all offline, and if I go out of town, I can log in on like a web browser. But that's it. That's the only thing I need. But I am glad that you brought up like personal protection, because one of the things like you're most known for, especially in these spaces, is like masking advocacy. You brought up the CDC earlier, but there is a burgeoning new virus out of China, and of course we were like looking at it earlier, and the right's freaking out about it. Are we being lied to again? Is something that's already on the rise. Could you give people a little bit of insight as to other than the obvious humanist perspective of protecting other people, walk us through a little bit of like why that is important to you as an individual, because it's very prominent. You've rightfully called out other people who are advocates for like vaccines for not masking in public. Could you kind of just give us a little personal insight on that?
Vaccines don't prevent transmission. COVID vaccines and most vaccines don't prevent transmission. Even measles, which primarily, that vaccine is very good and was preventing transmission. But we saw vaccinated children getting it because you had such high spread or they're immunocompromised, whatever. Vaccines are not universally protective. I do a lot of vaccine advocacy. And a lot of people, I think, are so ignorant about vaccines, where you have the right that thinks, oh, vaccines don't work, we should just eliminate them. And then you have the left that thinks that vaccines are like a silver bullet. And if you're vaccinated, you can just endlessly get infected with a virus and it somehow won't affect you, which is also completely fake pseudoscience nonsense. Like that's actually foundational anti-vax ideology, this idea that getting disease like helps you in some way. Like it does not. Your immune system is nothing like a muscle. Your immune system actually is harmed by repeated exposure to pathogens. It is not helped. You are going to end up even more immunocompromised and be able to generate even less of a response to the vaccine. Your vaccine. So we want to get COVID vaccines, but COVID vaccines don't prevent transmission. So the real danger of COVID, again, because we've already murdered all the pretty much millions and millions of disabled people that were the most vulnerable have been murdered off. Okay. We've already done that level of eugenics. But now the primary danger from COVID is this long-term harm, just the way that when you first get infected with HIV or many other viruses, right? Like you just have a mild reaction to it. You have some symptoms. You might have like a little bit of a cough or flu. The problem is the long-term damage, right? Now we understand, the long-term damage of HIV leads to AIDS. The long-term damage of Epstein-Barr virus, which a lot of people might know as mono, where it's like you may feel like flu symptoms for a little bit. The long-term damage is multiple sclerosis or all these other things that we know that the virus can lead to long-term. So you don't want to get viruses. You want to get as few viruses as possible. Every time you're infected with COVID, no matter if you're vaccinated or not, better to be vaccinated. But regardless, because the vaccines don't prevent like long-term damage from COVID, long COVID, the chances of all of these long-term permanent disability go up. And people are still dying of COVID. So I just I cannot understand from like a moral perspective, personally, if I could wear a mask, which is so easy, like there's, and not kill someone, like obviously that's the thing to do. And I don't understand how leftists understood this in 2020 and had solidarity in 2020. And then basically in 2021, we're like, actually, we're going to adopt like MAGA. We're actually going to actually move further to the right of MAGA in 2020. And we're just not going to wear a mask anymore. Like, I don't understand it, because not only does it protect you, it protects others. Airborne disease is real.
I mean,
If you don't think it's real, like how,
I'm not perfect, sometimes I forget it, sometimes I
No
just
one
don't
is.
think
No one
about it.
is.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're gonna go. Like I'm too immunocompromised to be inside at a bar. But if you live in Chicago or something, I don't know. But this is the thing: if you're not masking, sorry to interrupt, but like
No, you're good.
if you're not, we could have a safer environment. If
Mhm.
you acknowledge the reality of the ongoing pandemic, there are places. I live in LA. I can mask, year round and do everything outside. If you say you live in Chicago, right, or New York, we could have things like upgraded ventilation in bars. We could educate people about airborne disease. We could have people test. We could have people understand that it's not good enough to wear a mask when you're sick because the most contagious you are is when you're pre-symptomatic, before symptoms show. We could normalize all of this stuff and have a much healthier public, the way that, honestly, frankly, tons of countries in Asia have. In Japan, they have like the little air quality monitors in movie theaters, in grocery stores. We could have all of that. But to get all of that, leftists need to wake the fuck up and have solidarity with disabled people and working people and poor people and start acknowledging the reality of the ongoing pandemic instead of just what they did in 2021, which is just start spouting MAGA bullshit.
It's interesting you bring up Japan. I was in Tokyo in April, and that was something I wanted to like mentally take note of, was like, how many people am I going to see wearing masks? I was surprised that I didn't see as many, but I definitely saw like regular usage of it. But a strange thing, and I talked to a content creator out there, Shibuya Kaho, about this. There's like a weird tendency to, when you do cough, to take it off and then cough into your arm.
What?
Very strange. I didn't know what was going on with that, but it's like a common thing. I don't know, but
that defeats the purpose of the mask.
I know, it's
but also,
very weird.
Breathing. I mean, the reality is like coughing is not like coughing is worse than breathing in terms of spreading infection, but breathing is like any sort of exhalation is bad.
Yeah, of course. I did think that in 2020, as we were going through like the worst stages of lockdowns, fat air quote there. That it would be something that we kind of culturally would adopt, was the regular mask wearing, and kind of an understanding, okay, we obviously need like some kind of single payer healthcare system because this went to hell in a handbasket quickly. Neither of those things really stuck to it. I mean, there's more people
leftists
obviously
gave up because leftists adopted, because all these leftists, just instead of advocating for any of that, they just decided that it was better to just go far right anti-public health MAGA. That is literally, and they say, oh, well, we have the vaccines. Again, the vaccines don't do shit. We could have had better vaccines. We have shit vaccines. And we could be investing in vaccine development. And by the way, you know why part of the reason we have shit vaccines is because, and I say that again, like, because we have so many variants and because we have so much spread. So if you really supported vaccines and if you really supported vaccine efficacy, you would understand that the best way to maximize vaccine efficacy is to mitigate spread and to institute all these other, layers like masking, ventilation, et cetera, to minimize spread so that the vaccines aren't made outdated, so that the vaccines don't become outdated within 3 weeks because we've got some new highly transmissible variant because again, like there's just so much spread.
Yeah.
So like it's just infuriating. And as somebody that does a lot of vaccine education and like I said, advocacy, and I've worked at a vaccine clinic sometimes, there's this idea where people on the left will be like, oh, you have to sort of lie to people and tell the people like, you can't criticize vaccines. You can't sort of acknowledge the limitations of vaccines because that could lead to anti-vax belief systems. So stupid. I've covered the anti-vax movement for 15 years. It is the exact opposite. By refusing to acknowledge the limitations of our current vaccines, you break trust with people. So basically people think, and the primary thing that I hear when I'm working at these clinic and doing all this stuff is people say, well, they told me that if I got the vaccine, I couldn't get COVID, and I got COVID. And now I have a heart condition, or now I have this. So the vaccine didn't work, and maybe the vaccine caused that. And I say, no, they just didn't tell you that the vaccine is not enough. What they told you is that, you're right, they told you that you wouldn't get sick, if you got the vaccine, but what they should have said is that it'll help you.
Your likelihood
just like
of dying would exponentially decrease.
Exactly. And some other things, right? It's going to help.
Yeah.
But, for me, like I got COVID once. And I'm so immunocompromised now that I don't even generate antibodies to any of the vaccines.
Really?
So You can have, and by the way, you can be fully vaccinated. You can have 5 COVID shots, get COVID once, and COVID can fuck your immune system so badly that you no longer are able to generate significant immune responses because you're so immunocompromised now from COVID destroying your T cells.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is crazy, and it's like masking is the bare minimum. Masking is the bare minimum for surveillance. For all of these reasons, we should be masking anyway. But yeah, we should have single payer healthcare. We should have, upgraded ventilation in places like schools and subways and things like that. Anyway,
God, my
there's
wife
so
is a
much
teacher, and
environmental
her
pollution.
ventilation is awful in her public school that she teaches at. It's terrible.
And they won't even. I have heard from so many public school teachers too, where like the windows are locked shut. Like you can't even open a window. Like it's really bad.
Yeah,
Not just for
we're
COVID,
fighting
but
to get
for all
a air
disease.
purifier like in her room with her admin.
Crazy that that's a fight. And we know now too that the sicker you are, the more times you get exposed to viruses when you're young, the sicker you are when you're older, and the worse health problems you have when you're older. So there's this idea that is actually also anti-vax, foundational anti-vax ideology that's like, get sick. It's good for kids to get sick. No, it's not.
No.
No, it's not. It's good for kids to be exposed to microbes. That's very different than dangerous pathogens.
Right.
That's like being like, just chug more, keep chugging the sewage, and the more times you get cholera, the stronger you're gonna be. That's how these
it's
people
people who
sound.
think you could like get over a peanut allergy by having just a little bit. That eventually you're
Yeah.
gonna like build up an immunity. Everyone thinks that they're like Riddick in the movie where he like takes snake venom to train himself to be immune from it. That's not
Well,
what it is.
allergies are something totally different too. I don't want
Right.
to confuse people because I have an egg allergy, and like there are these like weird therapeutic things that you can do with allergies. Pathogens are not. Like, again, you can get rabies 20 times. Is that going to be good for you? No. If you're exposed to measles 30 times, yeah, maybe if you're vaccinated, that's good, but that's not good for your body. You
Right.
want to mitigate the amount of disease that you get.
Yeah, being sick, not good for you. 100%. The disinformation around vaccines does kind of bring me to one thing I wanted to touch on, which does kind of dovetail back into the surveillance conversation, was RFK Jr.'s gutting of mRNA research funding.
Horrible.
Obviously, like he's like enemy number one for anyone who likes to be a healthy, functioning human being. I don't know how he's alive, but what are your thoughts? I mean, I'm sure that they're in line with everything that we've been discussing. What are your thoughts? What are your initial reactions to the gutting of this funding? Because it was predictable.
It was predictable because RFK is an anti-public health nut job who is, terrible, and that is also why we should fight for public health. I just wanted to pull up this tweet because I saw it literally right before getting on here. Researchers have registered more than 120 clinical trials to date evaluating the potential of mRNA-based approaches for treating cancer, lung cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer, pancreatic cancer, brain tumors. mRNA technology is such a scientific breakthrough. It is, and I'm not saying that you have to get the mRNA COVID vaccine, okay? But you can get the Novavax one or the whatever. But the point is, this is valuable technology that we can use to mitigate cancer. Like we're going to get more cancer now. This is horrible.
For a man who thinks you can get cancer from using cell phones, you would think he would want to, have something to look into, how do we treat cancer at least?
But it's about dismantling. So there's this Julia Doubleday, who's an amazing disabled. She was disabled by COVID, but she writes this newsletter called The Gauntlet on Substack, and she's an amazing public health writer. She wrote about this sort of belief system, like RFK's belief system, and it's this idea that it's eugenics, obviously, but it's something that a lot of leftists have adopted as well, which is the survival of the fittest. And you see this from big leftist accounts on Twitter, where they're like, well, if you're too sick that somebody's going to cough on you on the grocery store and you can die, then you should die. And this sounds like people back in the 1800s are like, well, if you step on a rusty nail and you die, like that was God's will. Like it is really regressive thinking. And RFK, he doesn't want to eliminate sickness. He wants to eliminate sick people. He wants to eliminate disabled people and less genetically superior people, whatever, however they want to sort of frame it. and you're seeing that rise in eugenics alongside with like Silicon Valley and all of this stuff. Like we're seeing this broad-based rise of eugenic sort of thinking and like those phrases like that, or that I don't know how to say it, but that ideology is like becoming pervasive in
Yeah, it's like a
culture.
post-humanist, neo-feudal perspective that like Thiel and Alex Karp and Elon Musk especially, Jesus Christ, they all have this post-human, like we are, because they're like oligarchs. They live in a different reality. They don't see the public in the same light as they see themselves. So I also think that part of their anti-healthcare, anti-humanist perspectives is informed by a incredible narcissism that they think that they are supposed to be the ones who decide these things.
But not just that, it's narcissism. If you're not wearing a mask, it's narcissism. It's the idea that I'm not going to get sick. I would never die of COVID. I could not get disabled. Anybody can be disabled at any time. This is America, especially. Yeah. So, and it's that's the same narcissism as these Silicon Valley people. They're like, I'm superior. I can purchase my way out of whatever, whatever sort of ill things come my way. And in some ways they can, right? They have access to all of these therapeutics and all of these other things that like we don't have. Like look at Brian Johnson, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're all human. And this idea that, which they think like Elon especially, it's like, I'm a billionaire, therefore I am genetically superior because I am richer, which is, I mean, it's actually something that a lot of people in Silicon, Mark Andreessen and these other people feel too. That's crazy. I mean, it's fascist eugenic thinking.
I mean, are you aware of the book, The Mars Project?
Oh yeah, but I haven't read it.
So I found this out recently. Another peer of mine on Twitch who does Canadian politics told me about this. The Mars Project is a science fiction novel that Elon Musk read to Elon. He was a big fan of this book, and he read this book to Elon as a kid. It is about colonizing Mars, but it's a fascist colonization of Mars. That's all like colonization is, but like explicitly Nazi. The main character, who is the ruler of Mars, take a guess what his name is.
Elon?
Yep.
No.
I believe that Elon Musk thinks that he is part of a prophecy.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely think so.
It's stark in comparison to like what he does. He's a tech oligarch. He's like he's got like a band of like weird online people that are like always doing propaganda for him. It's kind of crazy how one-to-one it is. He followed the character's steps almost to a T. Very weird.
That is so bleak.
I think about it all the time.
He is so evil.
He's so fucked up. It's kind of weird that he's been a little more quiet or not as in the public eye, but I think it's mostly the Epstein stuff that's, taking up a lot of media oxygen.
Oh, definitely. I did see a Gallup poll that found he is the most disliked person in America, the most disliked public figure in America.
I mean, that makes sense to me. I could see that. I could definitely see it. I think people don't have enough smoke for Peter Thiel, though.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, there's definitely people that are just as evil as him, but I think like Elon's more famous than those other people. But
yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking back to like when Elon did come for Trump and then Ro Khanna was like, Elon, like, I look forward to working with you or something. I'm like, why are you tying yourself to like this
I can't stand Ro Khanna. That man is he's such a huckster.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, he's terrible on all the online safety stuff. So yeah. I judge people by their tech policy, and he has terrible tech policy. So Ron Wyden has good tech policy, although terrible other politics.
Yeah.
Like Israel, but he is good on tech. Like they want to overturn Section 230, and Ron Wyden has always said that like they're basically waiting for him to retire or die to do it. Because as long as he's in the Senate, he doesn't think it'll happen.
Well, since this dovetailed back into the tech conversation, because we went to vaccines for a little bit, is there any important information that people need in this moment that is obviously like this whole story is not getting a lot of coverage, but is there anything like that's pressing in the moments about whether it's in the UK or these things that states are trying to introduce before there's like a massive nationwide legislation? Is there anything you want people to be informed on?
I think so the Electronic Frontier Foundation does really good work, and they have a blog called the Deep Links blog, which does great work, and they have all these like trackers on state laws and stuff that you can find on their website. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many of them right now. Like, there's so many laws in so many states. So I think that like anything you can do to just draw attention to the issue and talk about it, and also just like educate people on like start asking political leaders about their tech policy, because I think a lot of these people, even on the local level, like come into power and they're never asked about these things. And I think we should push them on them and be like, where do you stand on this? What are you going to do to fight it?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Beto O'Rourke is doing a kind of national tour. He's doing a temperature check and getting emails for what I'm going to predict is either like a Senate campaign or running for president again in 2028. And he's coming to my neighborhood tonight. I'm going to go to his town hall and, ask him about arms embargo. Is there anything you would ask someone like Beto O'Rourke, who is currently not a politician, not in any office, but has desire for a higher office? Is there something you would ask him?
I would ask, if he's in power, what is he going to do to protect Section 230 and protect and stop online censorship? What is he going to do to prevent these child safety laws on a state and national level? And what is he going to do to address the moral panic about kids and technology that these laws are being predicated on?
I don't think Beto's plugged in enough to even know what that is, but
no, they all know what it is. They know they
you think
because
so?
here's the thing, 100%. You can't, if he doesn't know what that stuff is, he should not be in political office. This is very
agree.
basic. This is very basic stuff. So I understand like not everyone is going to understand everything about tech policy, but that is pretty basic. I don't know. I mean, maybe you're right.
I think of the
That's
TikTok
depressing.
hearings when they asked if TikTok has access to the Wi-Fi, and I think they have no idea what they're signing on to.
Yeah, you're right. Oh no, this is really well. I guess I would ask him like, do you know how to turn on your computer? And if he can't,
just basic stuff.
Get him out.
How to open a command prompt, like that stuff.
Yeah, I forgot how bad those TikTok hearings was. That was like a real. I mean, that was also the TikTok stuff. Like all of these issues are so intertwined, right? The reason per Gallagher and Warner, who both co-sponsors of the ban on TikTok, they said just last year at the Munich Security Conference, like when they were asked about the TikTok ban, they said openly there was no appetite for the ban. It would have never happened until October 7th, and that was what. That sort of weaponizing fake claims of anti-Semitism on the app and all this stuff, like and basically saying that like the app is the reason why there's no support for Israel, was what they were able to get it banned on. So it's all connected. It's all connected.
Yeah, and I mean Charlie Kirk's not top dog or anything like that, but he's having a moment on TikTok because of the negotiations that the Trump administration made with the CEO Xu, so that they would be less censorious or less heavy-handed with the terms of service violations on right-wing content. And that's why like you see Nick Fuentes and Charlie Kirk having a moment. It's just it's a rigged game as far as media platforms like that.
Well, they just want to control it.
Yeah.
The TikTok today that we have today is not the same TikTok from 2 years ago. I went to the TikTok inauguration party that was the night before Trump was inaugurated in Washington, D.C., where they had the giant giant vertical screens all over blasting Charlie Kirk video TikToks, Ben Shapiro TikToks. I saw one of the TikTokers that I wrote about who was banned from the app for election fraud conspiracies. He was there at the party with, all of the TikTok leadership people. And yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, I'm like, again, it's about control. It's about control. And TikTok wouldn't initially bow down to control. TikTok was also the only platform, the one social platform before all of this happened back in 2023, the one platform where there were more liberal, significantly more liberal and progressive news content creators and news influencers than on other platforms. Every single other social app was dominated by right-wing content except TikTok. And it was being used as a tool for social justice. And that is why it was banned. And now is in this weird limbo where basically they're just like, oh, we love Charlie Kirk. Like, don't ban us. We love you, Trump. Like, we're,
I mean, it was bound to fold, like the company was bound to fold, but I didn't see Trump or the Republican Party actually wanting to ban it, like, at all. They just wanted to hand it off to, like, an American oligarch, if they could.
Oh yeah, well they just want control again because they want control. That's what they want. They want to be able to censor and they want that data. Because right now, like, I mean, the way that TikTok is, that data is protected and the US government cannot easily access it. And now, like, I mean, it is protected in the sense of like the Chinese government also cannot access it, to be clear. But they want it all. They want to be able to use it as part of the broader surveillance ecosystem. They want Oracle to control everything. And yeah.
Yeah, it's real George Orlando, 1985, Animal Crossing. Yeah. Well, Taylor, I appreciate you coming on today. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to get out of your hair. I appreciate you coming on and, bringing this story to light. Is something that I, as not a tech person, don't really, don't really have like the wherewithal to wrap my mind around it a lot of the times. And like you said, people, aren't really given a lot of airtime to it. So I appreciate you doing that work and also, sharing that with us.
Thank you so much for letting me rant about all my favorite topics.
No, I love it. I love a good rant.
So thank you. And I hope people watch my YouTube series.
Yes, of course. Plug away, please. Plug away.
Also, one other thing I want to say too is like, I have a video on this coming out tomorrow. I don't know if you saw the Lil Tay like OnlyFans thing.
No.
This influencer Lil Tay launched an OnlyFans. It's being used. They also want to criminalize OnlyFans and like sex work and all this stuff. So anyway, watch my YouTube channel. I have a video on it coming tomorrow.
We'll check it out tomorrow. Hell yeah.
So check it out. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. You have a good day.
Bye.
All right. Yeah, I love Taylor. Taylor's great. Such a delight. All right, folks. Oh no, Lil Tay is on OF. What the fuck? Who the fuck is Lil Tay? God damn it. The past 2 weeks, man, I've really like discovered how not like online I am. I maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. I am not at all like zeroed in.